He built a business, making over $1 million a year, and still couldn't afford to pay his rent. If you think a big top-line revenue number is your ticket to freedom, you are being played by a lie that will leave you bankrupt, broken, and begging for a way out. Most people spend their entire lives chasing that seven-figure mark, thinking it's the ultimate finish line. But for one couple, I know it was a 30-year nightmare that almost cost them their home and their marriage. They weren't lazy. They had plenty of customers. But they made one deadly mistake that the average person makes every single day with their paycheck. Stick around, because I'm going to show you the silent killer of wealth and how to fix it before your bank account hits zero. If you're tired of working like a slave for money that vanishes, hit that subscribe button right now. 1. The illusion of success. Imagine running a landscaping business for nearly 30 years. You've got trucks on the road, crews in uniform, and $1 million in revenue flowing through the books every single year. From the outside, you are a local legend. You look successful. You look like you've made it. But when you open the banking app at 2 in the morning, the truth doesn't just whisper, it screams at you. They had $7,000 left in the bank. $7,000. That's all they had to cover a massive payroll fuel for a fleet of trucks insurance and their own mortgage. That's not a business. That's a ticking time bomb disguised as a career. You are one broken lawnmower or one sick employee away from total liquidation. Why are you killing yourself to maintain an image for the neighbors when the reality of your life is a hollow, crumbling shell? 2. Revenue is a vanity project. Stop asking people, how much do you make? It's the single most ignorant question in the world of finance. It means absolutely nothing. The only question that actually carries weight is, how much do you keep? This business made $1 million, but 60% of that went straight to wages because their crews were unmanaged, slow, and inefficient. Another huge chunk went to debt payments for shiny zero-turn mowers and trucks they couldn't actually afford, but bought just to look the part. By the time the money settled into the account, there was nothing left for the owners who took all the risk. Revenue made them feel rich at weekend parties, but their cash flow management proved they were living in absolute poverty. Are you really okay with being a millionaire on a piece of paper while you're scrambling to find enough cash to pay for your own groceries? 3. The silent killer: fixed costs. Here is where most entrepreneurs commit financial suicide without even realizing it. They turn their labor into fixed costs. Salaries for people who aren't producing, high-interest loans for equipment that sits idle 3 days a week, massive warehouse leases that are 50% bigger than they actually need. This creates a break-even point that is astronomical. It means even when it rains for a week and the work slows down, your expenses don't move an inch. Every slow week, they bleed. Every bad month, they go deep into the negative. And what is the desperate solution most people choose? They borrow more. They open another credit card just to pay a utility bill. Now, the business isn't running on profit. It's running on a life support system of debt. You are funding a fake lifestyle with a credit line that is eventually going to snap and crush everything you've built. 4. Financial life support. They had multiple loans from different banks and credit lines maxed out to the absolute ceiling. They even admitted with tears in their eyes that they were using new debt just to stay alive. Think about the sheer insanity of that for a second. They weren't borrowing to scale the business or buy a strategic asset. They were borrowing just to exist for another 30 days. This isn't entrepreneurship. It's a high-stakes gambling addiction where the house always wins. If you are using next month's credit to pay for last month's mistakes, you aren't a business owner, you're a financial hostage. You are working for the bank, and the bank is a cruel, heartless master that doesn't care if you eat or sleep. 5. The pricing trap of fear. This is the part that hurts the most when you look at the data. They hadn't raised their prices properly in nearly 10 years. Why? Because they were terrified. They were afraid to lose the old guard customers, afraid people would talk behind their backs, afraid of the simple word no, so they stayed cheap. And every day they stayed cheap, they had to work harder just to stand still. Inflation was driving up the cost of their gas, their fertilizer, and their labor. But they were still charging prices from a decade ago. They were literally working harder every single year and getting poorer every single year. Your kindness in keeping prices low isn't helping your customers. It's just subsidizing your own bankruptcy. You are literally paying your customers to let you work for them. 6. The busyness addiction. They were busy 14 hours a day, checking job sites, fixing tiny equipment, malfunctions, and micromanaging crews that should have been autonomous. It felt productive. It felt responsible. But it was a total trap. While they were busy doing manual labor and putting out small fires, their sales system was a rotting corpse. Their marketing didn't exist. Their lead flow. One single lead per week. Think about that, $1 million company with only one new inquiry every 7 days. You don't have a business problem. You have a priorities problem. If you spend your entire day working in the dirt instead of building the system, you deserve the empty bank account you have. Busyness is a lazy man's excuse for avoiding the hard strategic work that actually creates wealth. 7. Chaos by design. Everything in the office was manual. Phone calls on sticky notes. Text messages lost in a sea of notifications. Appointments scratched onto a paper calendar that stayed in the truck. Leads got lost in the cracks. Estimates took 2 to 3 weeks to send out. Opportunities for massive contracts vanished into thin air because they were too busy to reply. Imagine a customer standing there, credit card in hand, ready to pay you $10,000, and you respond 20 days later. That's not bad luck. That is pure self-sabotage. Without a digitized, automated system, you don't have a business. You have a chaotic, soul-crushing hobby that is eating you alive. You aren't just losing money. You're throwing it in the trash and lighting it on fire. 8. The relationship tax. Nobody talks about the human cost of bad cash flow management. When the money is broken, the relationship breaks too. They were married, working together every day, but every dinner table conversation was a fight about bills and uncollected debt. Business stress doesn't stay at the office. It becomes personal resentment. They weren't partners. They were two people drowning in the same ocean, trying to climb over each other just to get a breath of air. Money is the leading cause of divorce because when you can't pay for survival, your brain stays in fight or flight mode. You treat the person you love like an enemy because they are a witness to your failure. Is the $1 million dream worth a broken home and a lonely bed? 9. The comparison trap. They looked at the guys across town, the ones with the brand new shiny trucks and the massive crews. They thought, if they can charge $60 for a service, we have to charge $55 to stay competitive. This is the fastest way to the graveyard. You are playing a game of follow the leader with people who are also drowning in debt. You see their new equipment, but you don't see their maxed out credit cards. You don't see their empty bank accounts. You're competing for the cheapest guy in town award, and the only prize is bankruptcy. While you were obsessed with beating your neighbor's price, you forgot to check if your own price even covered your overhead. Stop looking at the competition and start looking at your own margins. 10. The brutal 20% fix. The expert gave them one brutal, uncomfortable truth. Raise your prices by 20%. Not 5, not 10, 20. Across the board, to everyone. It was terrifying for them. They thought they would lose every customer they had, but it was the only way out. That one small shift would triple their actual profit without adding a single minute of extra work. Same customers, same labor, more cash. If you're afraid to raise your prices to a level where you can actually thrive, you're admitting your service isn't worth the value you claim. Real cash flow management starts with the courage to be expensive. You have to choose, do you want to be liked by everyone or do you want to be profitable? Here's the crazy part. They didn't need more customers. They didn't need more employees. They didn't even need to work more hours. They were already sitting on a gold mine. They just didn't have the courage to pick up the shovel and stop the bleeding. Here is the truth most people don't want to hear. You don't go broke because you don't make enough money. You go broke because you don't control the money you make. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, but cash flow management is survival. You can have $1 million company and still be a slave to your own bank balance. The choice is yours. Fix the system or let the system bury you. If this story hit a little too close to home good, that means your attention. Drop a comment with the words cash flow below, so I know who is serious about taking back control of their life. And if you want to understand the deeper system that keeps the middle class trapped in this endless cycle of working for nothing, watch the next video on your screen right now. Earning money is the easy part. Keeping it, that is where the real game begins. I'll see you there.